To get a better understanding of where the US-Iran deal stands and what crucial hurdles remain in securing long-term West Asia stability, we are being joined by Chris Doyle. He's Director of Council for Arab-British Understanding and also a West Asia analyst. He joins us live from London. Mr. Doyle, appreciate you joining us on the broadcast. Beginning first up with the position, as far as the Israeli position is concerned, your thoughts on will Israel's insistence on keeping troops in South Lebanon completely derail the ceasefire agreement?
Well, I think that it's not just keeping the troops, it's the fact that there is obviously continuing exchange of fire between Israel and Hezbollah. And at times it's difficult to know precisely who's fired what when. And I think, though, that underlying this is the fact that Prime Minister Netanyahu has it in his interest, as he sees it, to keep this front open. He doesn't like the Iran deal. He considers that this leaves Iran very much in place as a hostile entity in terms of Israel, that it'll continue to support Hezbollah within Lebanon, and that therefore he would like to undermine it. The only reason that, in theory, that he has to go along with all of this is because of the pressure that is being brought to bear upon him by the Trump administration. But if we are going to see this US-Iran deal move forward, then somehow we have to get a genuine and proper ceasefire within Lebanon, respected by all sides. And frankly, that hasn't happened for ages. Since the November 2024 ceasefire that brought a pause to the war at that moment, Israel was violating it nearly every single day. So there needs to be some really serious diplomacy, because Iran does see this as crucial to the 60-day ceasefire memorandum of understanding. It says that its negotiators have arrived in Switzerland not to deal with the technical negotiations, but to ensure that this ceasefire is actually implemented. They see the Lebanese front as a core part of it.
Yes, Mr. Doyle, in continuation to that very statement, the discussion that we are having with respect to Israeli position, we've also heard some very strong statements coming from Vice President J.D. Vance. In fact, it is a direct warning of sorts to Netanyahu's cabinet as well. Do you think that particular warning also signals a permanent fracture, or probably in that direction, as far as US-Israel alliance is concerned?
Well, certainly there is a fracturing between President Trump and those around him, including the Vice President and Prime Minister Netanyahu. There are now suspicions in the Netanyahu camp that President Trump is reaching out to some of Netanyahu's opponents within the Israeli political system. Of course, there'll be an Israeli election by the end of October. So it does appear that that relationship is rather fractious, as it has been at times in the past. But somehow, President Trump, if he wishes to see this go forward, and he was very candid about the implications of not having this deal last week. He made it very clear that, the world was running out of oil, that they needed to get the Strait of Hormuz open, that this was a real major issue. So if he is determined to do that, then he has to be really serious and get serious with the Israeli government and Netanyahu and say enough. And he needs to be able to say there will be no more weapons, there will be no resupply of the munitions that Israel requires unless it adheres to this agreement and backs off. Now, you asked earlier, I should have responded about the situation in terms of Israel's occupation of Lebanon. I think perhaps the best case scenario is that Israel would at least give some sort of partial withdrawal as these talks go on. Ultimately, of course, Lebanese sovereignty must be respected, and there should be a full Israeli withdrawal. But even prior to the February war in Iran, Israel was occupying 5 sections of Lebanese territory in the south and had made no commitment to leave it. This has to be the direction of travel. Of course, there's obligations on Hezbollah. Hezbollah also must not fire rockets into Israel. It also has to get part of what I think should be a Lebanese political process to disarm, put its weapons beyond use, and so that the Lebanese government can restore sovereign control over the entire country, be the sole power within Lebanon, and not have a non-state actor effectively being a second government.
Yes. Mr. Doyle, you mentioned earlier about Strait of Hormuz. That's exactly what I was coming to. A lot of ambiguity with respect to whether the strait is open or shut. In your thoughts, what concrete mechanisms can the US deploy, if at all, to realistically guarantee freedom of navigation through the Strait of Hormuz for all the vessels passing through the critical waterway?
There's only one way. It has to be through agreement with Iran. I think that the war has showed that. The United States, the Trump administration, believed that it could basically bomb Iran into submission, into 100% surrender. Instead, it got the closure of the Strait of Hormuz. It hasn't been able to reopen it. So the only way to do that is through diplomacy. And that's why this ceasefire agreement has come about. So it requires, as I said, the United States to talk Turkey to the Israeli leadership. Keeping the Lebanese front open is going to be absolutely crucial to getting the Strait of Hormuz properly open, so that we really see the level of shipping going through that vital waterway back to roughly where it was. It's going to take time. It's not going to be done overnight. And therefore that the global economy can start to recover.
Yes. Mr. Doyle, just last question, talking about the talks taking place between US and Iran. Which other sticking points do you think would be critical in the talks going forward, other than the Hormuz Strait and, of course, the position of Israel with respect to its forces continuing with the attacks in South Lebanon region?
Well, if they get past, the alleged ceasefire violations, I think that we're going to see a lot of discussions about the nuclear file. I think that President Trump has made that the absolute focal point of the US demands, that Iran should never have a nuclear weapon, and they will want guarantees that there is no pathway to that. The Iranian lead negotiator, the Speaker of the Parliament, has said that Iran does not want a nuclear weapon. But I think that external powers will want to see more than just words. They will want to see guarantees. There's very little faith in this Iranian regime at all. So I suspect that will be the main one. President Trump has written off the issue of ballistic missiles and saying that we can't deny those to Iran. So I don't think, that's going to be an issue. And I don't think actually Iranian support to various non-state actors across the Middle East is going to be that big an issue, probably beyond Hezbollah. I think that ongoing arming of Hezbollah could well come up to be an issue, one in which the United States may really make a centerpiece of the negotiations going forward.
Right, Mr. Doyle, point taken, and of course a lot of unanswered questions at this stage. Remains to be seen, will the presence of the Israeli military trigger a definite collapse of the fragile truce or not? But point taken, appreciate you speaking to WION.
Thank you very much.